Our first guest tonight is somebody I haven't seen for hours. It's a long story. I'll keep it short. For whatever reason, the world and fate keeps thrusting myself and poor Claire together constantly. Today we were together at lunchtime. On Sunday she was a guest on my radio show. This keeps happening. So God help her. Please welcome, would you please, the author of It's Not What You Think, the great Clare Mackintosh. Well, hello.
Hello.
It's been ages, and it's good to see you as always. Congratulations on your new book.
Thank you.
I'll tell you again, I loved it and read every page.
This is why I keep seeing you every day, because I need you to feed my ego.
It's affirmation.
Yeah.
It's affirmation. How are you feeling about this particular book? I get a sense of great pride, great satisfaction, and a great sense of happiness around this one, actually.
I mean, it's bordering on smug, if I'm honest, which is not an attractive trait, but I'm really proud of it. Really, really proud of it, and sort of faintly terrified about doing another one.
It's funny you should say that. I was talking to one of the authors backstage. I won't mention her name. And she said that she's got a book coming out soon and she's really nervous about it. And I was talking to another friend of ours the other day who's also a world-famous author, who's also very, very nervous about books coming out. The perception readers like me, and I'm sure pretty much everyone here would be, that you're kind of slightly more confident than that, and I say that respectfully, that you'd go, oh, the book is out, and you're all excited about it, rather than, but the nerves is
oh no, the nerves are huge, and I'm only, now I feel relaxed and happy and proud, and because it's out, and it's done its thing, and it went to number one, and it's all terribly exciting, and so now I get to relax a bit, because I don't need to be nervous, but before it comes out, that's absolutely terrifying.
It's the anticipation.
Every single time.
Is it the gap between the last full stop and the publication date, or is it the first word and the first chapter?
No, I think it's once it's finished, because you can't change it then, and you never quite feel you've finished a book. You always feel there's something else you would do if you had time, and so that's you've missed the boat on that. But also you've read it so many times that maybe not everyone feels like this, but I have read it so many times that I'm sick of it. And not only am I sick of it, I feel like the twists are the most predictable thing ever, because I have read and reread and edited and tweaked. And by the time it comes out, I sort of think, this is just so obvious.
Yeah.
So
to
yeah,
you,
it's
because
really
but thankfully for us, it's fresh and sharp and full of twists and turns that we all love. Can you give us a sense of why this one has made you so proud? More than others, maybe,
So I think there's probably always a sense that each book is better than the one before. I think each book should be better than the one before, because we're all getting better at our jobs as time goes by. And like every author, I'm always trying to do things a little bit different, a little bit better. This book, I think, is my best because it's got a real humdinger of a twist. And, a book is far more than a twist. But, I mean, who doesn't love a plot twist? And I have been really excited about this one. And I had the same feeling that I had when my debut came out. And my debut, if anyone's read I Let You Go, it's got a big twist in it, and it sort of felt quite new and exciting at the time. Yeah. And I haven't really had that same feeling until I started working on this book.
And what is that feeling? Is that a feeling that you go, oh, sweet mother, like I want to have a drink and a cigarette afterwards? Like, is it that like, is it that great feeling, or is it a feeling that says, that's great. Well done, me. Tea and a biscuit. Like, which?
That would be a very British way of dealing with
celebrating
something really
with something
exciting.
so joyful. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, so golly gosh. Yes.
So
let's put the kettle on.
Which one are you?
It is a feeling of excitement because of the potential. Because that's all it is, isn't it? When you have a really good idea,
sure,
whatever it's for, it's just potential. And so it's almost more exciting than when you deliver it, because you haven't messed it up yet. It's just perfect. It's this glorious, shiny new idea. And so I just, I was still writing another book at the time, so I couldn't do anything with this idea. And it was like, it was like meeting someone's eyes across a crowded room and having that kind of zing of chemistry and thinking, oh, now there's potential.
Really?
But then not being able to do anything about it for a while.
Yeah, because
I was writing another book.
Yeah.
So I had to let that idea sit, and I was so worried that someone else would write it, because although you can have lots of writers writing about similar issues, and they're always going to be different stories, and sometimes authors will really panic because they're writing a book set on a boat, and then they hear that 7 other writers are writing books set on boats, and it's fine because they're all different stories. But then there are other conceits. There are, particular plot twists or sort of technical things that you might do in a book that actually, if someone else did it first, you wouldn't be able to do it. So I was really scared that someone would have thought of this idea and write it before I could.
Can you check that? Other than your own reading,
No.
can you kind of ChatGPT? Did somebody get killed by a piano?
Not at all, really, because there are so many books, and it also wasn't something I wanted to talk about. I didn't want to tell anyone about it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want that.
So you protected it?
Yes. I was fiercely protective of it, and it was a weird time because I was moving publishers. I was coming here to HarperCollins, as it turned out, but at the time I was sort of speaking to lots of publishers, and I had this little ball of what I thought was, gold.
I'm dying to know, I always love to know from an author as esteemed as you, who did you read when you were young? And by young, I mean in your teens, because it's such a formative time. Who did you love to... Did you have an author that you kind of woke up on a Saturday knowing that they had a new book out that you ran to the bookshop or the library, or were you more kind of passive?
Well, I mean, I was just about to tell you, and then you said, rush when they've got a new book out, and I don't think Agatha Christie had many new books out when I was in my teens. But, Agatha Christie was really formative.
She was your go-to?
So I grew up in a house of books, which I was privileged to do so. My parents had loads of books. But they didn't have a lot of contemporary novels. They had a lot of classics, a lot of Jane Austen, a lot of Dickens, a lot of Shakespeare, a lot of Agatha Christie, Ruth Rendell. And so those were the books I read, Daphne du Maurier. And I was thinking, someone asked me a few weeks ago when I started reading crime, and I thought it was Agatha Christie in my teens. And then I thought about all the Enid Blyton books, and what is the famous 5 if it's not a detective novel?
For kids.
Yeah. They're amateur sleuths, aren't they? And Secret 7 and Nancy Drew. And so I've been reading crime kind of forever. I just had never linked it to something. So I knew I loved writing stories at school. Yeah. And I loved reading books, and books spoke to me, but it took me a really long time to put the two together.
Wouldn't it have been fun if the famous 5 murdered somebody?
No,
but it was such an anarchic.
No, that's a spin-off I want to write.
Like George is got the hands on the neck, and you go, "What are you doing?" So, shit, I'm sorry.
I think we should do it.
Get the ginger ale.
Yes.
Yeah.
Julian goes rogue.
Julian goes completely psychotic.
It should be Julian because he's so goody two-shoes.
Yeah.
But imagine if he just goes utterly psychotic.
Julian says, "I've had enough. I've been so good."
Yes. Or Anne. Anne's going to hit the menopause and just, she is just going to wreak vengeance.
The infamous 5. You do kind of follow-up books.
Let's do it.
I think
let's co-write it.
And then you got the Secret 7. This is going to go on. It's like Marvel, but for nerds. I love this. So that was these were the books that you love. But we spoke before, hours ago, about the fact that you didn't grow up in an artistic house or in an artistic environment in your life, that there were no actors or singers or creatives, let's use that awful word, around you. And yet you were the creative. You wanted to sing and dance and perform and tell stories, particularly.
Nowadays I think they would sort of, my kids would probably call it main character energy, and my parents called it being a show-off. So I just liked the spotlight. I liked entertaining. I liked a crowd, whether it was my school friends and I was telling them, a slightly embellished story about something I'd done at the weekend, or whether it was Amdram and I was the pantomime, principal boy, the thigh slapping and the musicals. I just absolutely loved it.
Yes. What musical did you shine in, do you think? looking back?
It's Cabaret.
Cabaret.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got a photo somewhere of me as Sally Bowles. I fear I could not handle the choreography nowadays, so we won't go down that route.
If we could get some more Prosecco. The night is young.
I am not.
I said, we were doing a photograph earlier on. I said, Claire, do you have a side? She said, yes, both of them. That was a very good answer, very good answer. Anyway, let's keep going. Because we're in like a crime evening with some wonderful contemporary writers here waiting to come on the stage a little later on, I think you are that little bit different in the sense of your previous role as a police officer and that experience. I mean, it just has to inform who you are as a writer and as a storyteller. And I think I'm stealing from you when I say this, that police detective work or policing is storytelling. I think you said that. Of sorts, in a peculiar way.
It has to be true, because otherwise it's perjury, and that never ends well, does it?
No, it doesn't, Claire.
And so you're not creative in that sense. But I remember doing my training for taking witness statements, and there are certain there are points of law that you have to make sure your witness or victim are including in their evidence. And so that's a sort of a technical process. But it is also a creative one, because what you're doing, firstly, you're writing in first person. So something has happened to you and you're telling me about it, and I'm going to write your statement. But I'm writing that in your voice. And I felt, right from the beginning, I felt a tremendous responsibility to use your voice and to empower all those victims and witnesses and write their evidence in a, not in a dry way. I mean, I would never write. I was proceeding down the road in a northeasterly direction. But my colleagues were, they were writing in this really odd police style, whereas I wrote in, I suppose, a slightly more evocative way. And it made a real difference, because what you're doing, sometimes that is the only piece of the story that is going to be put before a court. And so it's really, really important that a jury understands what the old normal was and what happened and how it's affected that person.
But if you were being kind of flowery with the language, and excuse that word, but just for want of a better one, are you in danger of bringing a little prejudice to it because you like the look of someone, or you believe somebody more than the other person?
No, because it's not about flowering it. It's just about it's about using the power of words, using them appropriately, not putting words in someone's mouth by listening to their communication style and making sure you're telling their story, which is exactly how, if you're writing a novel with several points of view, character A is not going to speak in the same way as character B, and you're inhabiting those fictional characters, and that is exactly what I would do when I was taking on somebody's voice for their statement.
And in terms of getting excited about writing and becoming a writer and working in the police, was there a point where you said, I want to do that now, or was it more that it was a process of being a police officer? You were going, there's great stories here. Did you keep seeing
it's
stories?
No, not that at all.
No, how did it work?
No, I went viral online. I was writing an anonymous blog. I started writing a blog after my son died, and quite often when we have these seismic changes in our life, I think, we just have this surge of creativity. And so I was writing a blog. I was doing it anonymously because I didn't really want people I was arresting or my colleagues to read it. And my blog grew and grew and grew, and I was earning money from it. And then I wrote a post about about being stuck in a tailback on the M40 and being caught short. And it's a long story, but
did it end well?
It ends with the learning that a toddler's nappy has the capacity to hold an adult wee. And I'm just going to give you that information, and you can, do with that what you will. And anyway, so I wrote this blog post, and it got picked up by the Times, and it went viral, and then suddenly I had this huge following. And so I started writing for an audience. I mean, I wasn't writing crime, I was writing funny posts. I started writing a novel. I wrote a romantic comedy, thinking, this is what I want to do. I like to entertain, I like to make people laugh. I'm going to write a funny novel. And I did that, and it got the attention of an agent, and that agent spoke to a publisher who was really interested, and then the agent said, I don't think you should go ahead with this book. I think this is the wrong book to be your debut. I think you've got more, and my advice to you would be to put that book in a drawer and have a think about how you want to start your writing career, because your debut novel will always define you. And so that funny but not particularly brilliant rom-com I put to one side, and I wrote I Let You Go, and that turned out to be the best advice that anyone could possibly have given.
It's extraordinary advice, but a piece of advice that a lot of people would have ignored and said, yeah, look, I've kind of broken my back with this, so thank you, but no thank you. So it took a lot of chutzpah, if that's the right word, for you to say, right, I'm going to shelve this, my first go at this, and try something different. Tell me about the thinking behind that.
I think there were a couple of things going on. I think one of them is that I think I knew sort of deep down that actually it was good but not great.
Okay.
That actually, if you're, I don't know, maybe you're just in the wrong relationship or you're in the wrong job, and you kind of know that, and you should do something about it.
When
you just
you
need,
know.
Yeah, you just need a little something to get you over the edge. And then the other thing is that I am sort of fundamentally a bit of a strategist. I'm not really thinking about what's going to happen just in the next 6 months or the next 12 months. I'm always thinking, where am I going? What do I want? What's my 10-year plan? Where do I want to be when I'm 80? And it's not all planned out in detail, but I kind of know. I have a sense of what I want out of life. And I could see from, she gave me really great advice. And I thought, yeah, okay, this is, it's my first novel. It isn't the best thing that I could possibly write, and actually, I think she was right. So she was right.
So when you moved away from that genre and into crime, did you feel the flow of inspiration and ideas? Was it all happening very naturally, or did you have to work hard to learn how to be a crime writer?
No, I mean, I had to work hard to be a writer, full stop,
really?
Because I didn't know how to write a book, and I was moving from something that was quite kind of simple to something structurally complex.
Yeah.
And that took a really long time to learn. It took lots of drafts, and no, it wasn't an easy process. But I think something kind of switched. When I joined the police, within the first few weeks, I met a woman who was living on the streets in Oxford, and she was the same age as me, almost exactly, and she'd gone to university the same time as me, and we'd both read French at university, and so we'd had these kind of parallel lives, and she'd grown up in quite a similar, comfortable background. And then when she was in her second year at university, her father had died, and she'd just kind of spiraled, and her relationship with her family had broken down. And we were 3 years on, and she was a heroin addict who shoplifted every day, and I was a police officer on a graduate fast track. And the only difference between us was that something terrible had happened to her, and it hadn't to me. And so that encounter kind of informed how I policed, and it informs how I write. And it informed that first book. What I realised when I started writing crime is that I'm really interested in what tips people over from a comfortable life to an uncomfortable one, what makes good people make bad choices.
I do think it's very interesting as you're talking about how policing is so important, that you can be one of two types of police officers. Am I right in saying that? It's more nuanced than that, but you can go, look, we can fix this, we can diffuse the situation, or you can go in 2 boots in. I did a lot of fighting as well. So I specialised as a riot commander in the end,
which
why
is
not? Yeah.
Like all fighting and shouting. It's a bit like parenting, but with more protection. And so but even with that, it was this great combination when you're a public order commander of the sort of strategic side where you're in a nice air-conditioned office and the riot or the football match or festival, whatever it is happening in a couple of weeks' time, and you're planning it all out, and you're like, oh, we've got this completely under control, and those people and those people will never meet, and it'll all be fine. So that's all the sort of the planning of a novel. And then you've got the dynamic decisions on the day where it all goes, to rats, and they're fighting in the street and throwing burning bottles at you, and you've just got to go with it and see what happens. And so the mix of planning and kind of adrenaline, I really loved that. And I kind of like that about this job, that it's this odd mix of solitude and quiet and planning.
And kind of reckless.
It's kind of reckless. You don't really know what's going to happen. It's, you're not just drawing a paycheck, are you, every month?
Strategy is important to you. I think we spoke before about how strategy in your life, putting shape on where you're going to be and what you're going to do. You mentioned your Joseph Stalin 5-year plans there, and now you're up until the age of 80. So, but also, of course, with the books, like obviously this one. You map it out like a crime scene in a movie, do you? Like with the string and the pins and the photographs. I mean, are you that micro?
Yeah, I am. And for a long time, I felt kind of less worthy as a writer.
What does that mean?
Well, so I would listen to writers at events like this talk about how they couldn't possibly plan because if they knew what was going to happen, then how could it possibly surprise the reader, and that it would just be painting by numbers, and it just made me feel really inferior, as though I wasn't a proper writer, that I was just painting by numbers. And it's just taken me quite a long time to realize that my first drafts are my plans, and just as an architect, I think would probably be quite insulted if we said that his plans, were just, pointless, and actually the real art comes from the builder who starts to lay the bricks. I think there is an art and a creativity to plotting in advance and crafting and shaping and being the civil engineer before I actually start the prose.
Have you written your best crime novel yet?
I can't say that because I am delivering my next book very soon, and so I feel like HarperCollins needs to know that my next...
It's coming.
My best is yet to come. I think that's what we'll go with.
A little bit of Sinatra to finish us off there. And with this particular book, Claire, you veer into politics with, I think, did you say with a small p or a big P?
I think this might be big,
P.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier on that in the comments, which you read, which I was surprised. A lot of public figures don't want to read what people are saying because other people refer to comments as graffiti on the toilet wall, depending. And I think that might be a Bono quote or something like that. Just say, if in doubt, say Bono said it, that's fine. But you read these messages, and tell us why you read them, even if they're not complimentary.
Well, I don't read all of them, but I do. Once a book comes out, I like to have a little dive into the reviews.
Yeah.
Because I think it's useful to, have an overview of what people are thinking. And what I found really interesting with this book is that the mercifully few negative reviews are all about one issue, which is that politics doesn't belong in fiction. And I find that just intriguing because for me as a reader, fiction holds a mirror up to society. It's one of the best ways of looking at how political decisions, social structure impacts on choices. And so I find it interesting that the themes in this book have triggered some people to feel it's a political agenda.
Yeah, it does feel timely, and sometimes crime novels don't, but this one does for all the right reasons. I think you cover it splendidly, I have to say, so congratulations on that. Sometimes we do questions and answer session. We're not doing that today because there's so many people, but you don't have a voice. So, sorry about that, Claire. But you can mingle. I think, are you mingling later?
I might do a bit of mingling.
Just a bit of mingling, and there's books to be signed, and there's things to be said. In the meantime, it's always a pleasure. We're nearly in double figures. But
I'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful Clare Mackintosh.
Thank you.